Jesse's Jabber with a friendly face. Welcome into your favorite space. If it's on his mind or it's in the air, and you've got a minute, drag up the chair. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Stay a while and enjoy the chair. Jesse's Jabber, Jesse's Jabber. Time goes by, life goes faster. Take a minute just to clear your head. Maybe there's comfort in the words that he says. Going through life with his kids and his wife. Throws in sports and some PS5. No hot takes, he just shoots it straight. Just a regular guy at the end of the day. If you found your way through the endless noise and clatter, listen in, maybe tell a friend. This is Jesse's Jabber.
Welcome in. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for dropping in. We're currently rolling the Great White Whale somewhere on the tail end of a 1,600 miles round trip. Behind us, the 12 are finally asleep. Radio's off. For the first time in a week where we said goodbye to a 93-year-old cornerstone of our family, it's finally quiet. But here's the thing about silence. It doesn't just sit there. It starts asking questions. Staring at the white lines on the asphalt, it made me realize something uncomfortable. We spend our lives rewarding the hustle and handing out trophies for the busy. But standing at a graveside, I was reminded, nobody reads you to do this at your service. They don't talk about how well you managed the calendar. They talk about your presence. So today, from the driver's seat, we're digging into the truth that adrenaline usually masks. What hits you when things finally slow down? Is it relief or is it a reckoning? I'm Jesse. This is Jesse's Jabber. Outnumbered, overstimulated, and on the mic. Let's get into it. We just finished a week that no family ever wants to experience, but every family eventually must. We said goodbye to a cornerstone, a founding member, if you will, Maria's grandpa. He was a loving husband, brother, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and those are just a few of the many roles that he played throughout his 93 years here on this earth. As I sat through his services, remembering and honoring him, it brought back a flood of emotions and memories, including those of my own grandpa and his services. All that emotion and 2 long treks in the Great White Whale, one going, one coming, gave plenty of time for my own thoughts and reflections to run rampant. This was a time of quiet reflection, and it raised the question, what hits you when things slow down? When things slow down for me, the silence usually hits first, and it can be deafening. But then the truth shows up. Sometimes it's relief. Maria and I, we're both working parents and mom and dad to the 12. So we tend to be a little busy. We manage our jobs, our kids, our schedules, their schedules, and 1,000 moving parts to be where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. That usually generates a ton of operational noise. But when that noise finally shuts off, sometimes it's fatigue. They say that adrenaline masks exhaustion. We don't slow down to think. We don't realize our shoulders are tight until they drop because we didn't have time. We push through the exhaustion until we have to stop. Sometimes that stop is sudden and becomes somewhat of a crash. It can put a ton of miles on your mind and your body, because when you stop moving, your body collects the bill for all that pushing through. Sometimes it's clarity. When the external noise dies down, the internal volume goes up. That's usually when the mental highlight reel starts playing, reflecting on the wins, the stresses of the week, or just the weight of being outnumbered by the 12. All the distractions fall away, and you can finally see what's been sitting in front of you the whole time. And sometimes, what's sitting there, that's all the stuff we thought we outran while we were busy. Regret, unanswered questions, that conversation we need to have, or the thing we said we'd start when life calmed down. Slowing down doesn't create those feelings. It exposes them. The quiet can hit hard while driving home on a long commute or during a 1,600-mile trip in just a few days. Those stretches where the radio's off, the 12 are sleeping, and the road is quiet, that's when we get down to real thoughts. Not what's next on the to-do list thoughts, but the who am I becoming thoughts. Or some that hit me this past week. Will my kids be able to say that about me when I'm gone? Or what will the people I love remember about me when I'm no longer here? Most of us say we won't rest, but we're actually afraid of what we'll hear when it does go quiet. Because quiet doesn't clap. It doesn't distract. It doesn't let you perform. It simply asks, are you proud of how you're spending your time? Are you living or just managing? What are you avoiding by staying busy? Slowing down, it can get really uncomfortable. Not because it's bad, but because it's honest. Maybe the question isn't what hits you when things finally slow down. Maybe it's, what have I been trying not to feel? We spend much of our lives trying to outrun the silence because we treat it like an enemy. We celebrate busy. We reward hustle. We hand out trophies for endurance. But these kind of moments are the part nobody puts on a highlight reel. Nobody hands you a medal for sitting in the quiet and letting it tell you the truth. This week taught me that silence can be a mirror. Sitting in a chapel, listening to stories told of him and standing at a graveside made me realize something I should have already known. The 93 years Maria's grandpa lived aren't summarized by busy work. Nobody read his to-do list. Nobody mentioned how well he managed a calendar, or how many emails he cleared, or even the total number of plumbing problems he fixed. They talked about the way he made people feel. Talked about how he showed up, the steadiness of him, the way he loved his wife, the way he showed up for his kids and grandkids, the consistency, the character. 93 years distilled down to impact. It made me realize that the 12 aren't going to remember the logistics of their childhood. They're going to remember the presence of their mom and dad. That's what slowing down does. It zooms out. It forces perspective. It exposes the truth. And the truth I found in the Great White Whale on this long drive home is that busyness is a poor substitute for legacy. We tell ourselves we're busy for them, but sometimes we're just busy instead of being with them. We use the noise to drown out the realization that the dash between our birth date and our end date is being filled with a lot of movement, but maybe not enough meaning. When everything stops, you start asking better questions. Not, did I get enough done? But, did I give enough of myself to the right things? Not, was I productive? But was I present? There's something about loss that recalibrates you. It reminds you that time isn't theoretical. It's not an abstract concept you manage on a Google Calendar. It runs out for all of us. And when it does, what's left is the imprint. The silence didn't just ask me who I am. It challenged me to decide who I want to be when the wheels finally stop turning for good. It's easy to be a good manager of a household. It's much harder to be a deliberate architect of a life. So I've decided to stop fearing the crash. Instead, I'm leaning into the quiet. Because if the truth is going to show up anyway, I'd rather meet it face to face while I still have the time to change the answers to the questions it's asking. During the services this week, I found myself thinking about my own grandpa, about the traits I hope I inherited, and the ones I still need to work on. And then a thought that landed heavier than the rest. My kids are watching in real time what kind of legacy I'm building. Not one day, right now. They're not going to remember my stress level. They're going to remember me being present. They're not going to talk about how efficient I was. They're going to talk about whether I was patient, whether I listened, whether I laughed. I don't want to just survive the noise of the 12. I want to make sure that when things finally slow down for them one day, the silence they feel, it's filled with the warmth of what we built, not the regret of what we missed. Slowing down also reveals opportunity. Because if the quiet shows you something you don't like, that's not condemnation, it's correction. It's a chance to pivot while there's still time, to make the call, to apologize, to start the thing, to be the kind of husband or wife, mom or dad, friend, son or daughter that you'd want spoken about in a room when you're no longer in it. That's uncomfortable, but it's also a gift. Maybe that's why moments like this, as heavy as they are, matter so much. They press pause on the noise and let eternity whisper into our temporary schedules. So this week, when things inevitably speed back up, because we all know they will, I'm not trying to lose what the quiet taught me. I don't want to wait for another funeral to ask better questions. I don't want to wait for exhaustion to force reflection. Maybe slowing down isn't meant to be an accident. Maybe it's supposed to be a discipline. Because if we don't create moments of quiet on purpose, life will eventually create them for us. And they usually come wrapped in something we didn't ask for. The road home is shorter than the road we took to get there. At least it always feels that way. But the man pulling back in the driveway isn't the same one who backed out of it a few days ago. This week taught me that silence isn't the enemy. It's a mirror. And if the quiet shows you something you don't like, it's not a sentence. It's a second chance. It's a chance to pivot while the wheels are still turning. To be the kind of husband or wife, kind of mom or dad, kind of friend that people don't just remember for being busy, but for being present, being counted on, and showing up with love. The 12, they won't remember my efficiency. They're going to remember my warmth. So as we put the great white whale in park, and the noise of life starts to ramp back up, because it will, I'll ask again, not just for me, but for you. When things finally slow down, what's waiting there? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Thanks for riding along on this week's episode. If you like what you heard, as heavy as it was, or if it made you think, don't be afraid to spread it around. Hit that share button. Like, subscribe, and share all my links and socials. I'm Jesse. This is Jesse's Jabber. Outnumbered, overstimulated, and on the mic. Drive safe. Hug your people. Give this week some meaning. And we'll talk again soon.